Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. May I have attention, please? All quiet, please. Thank you. So we're going to be starting a new unit here today on authoritarian government with a particular focus on Russia. This is this is a nice mixture of history incorporated into topics having to do with government, authoritarian government, and we'll be looking at this issue of like, why do some parts of the world have authoritarian, like autocratic forms of government, things like that, and other parts of the world not so much. Other parts of the world, like the United States, we care about things like freedom, okay? So you're going to need to start a new section, and I'll give you the handout for that new section. And actually, the people who aren't here really need to hear this, because no, you didn't lock it. Don't lock the door. There you go. Thank you. Okay? So, come on. Chop, chop, ladies. Come on. Chop, chop. Yep, pull the door. Thank you. So, it's going to be very important as you come in. I know because we've had different shifts and so forth, and all of a sudden you guys are not green. You're like, ooh, blue. Although you got blue jeans, green jeans. Anyway, yeah, it all works out great. We continue on this, and actually, I don't know. I'll give you a little bit of, this is for, because, yeah, let me get this. We had Morgan and Eve and Megan, the other one, and now we've got, yeah, I got to get this right. Megan, you took the test already, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I have to get this cleared up. And Morgan, you haven't taken it.
No, I haven't.
Are you ready?
No. Yeah, you are. You're going to be fine. It's really easy.
I will give you one option. Okay? This is the only option. Actually, two choices. So there's this, and then there's an option. So that's actually two choices. So there's one option, and then there's like the original. Am I confusing you?
No. What?
Good. I just confused myself. So Eve and Morgan, you can take it right now, or you can take it at the beginning of the class when you come in next time. You're going to take it now? Okay. Okay, why not? All right, now, first of all, because some of you guys are like, well, this is cool. I'm looking around at, and all of a sudden, like this, which was my smaller of the two classes, now this is, I guess, actually it's about even right now, close to being even. Do you know Megan? Do you know Eve? Do you know Morgan? Okay, so here, I would like you, I could do this, I mean, who does a better job of actually introducing themselves? Because sometimes when you're new to the school, especially when it's like, well, it's North Star, it's blue, or North Star, it's green, those are two different student bodies, right? And these young ladies were in the green, and now they're in that blue, which looks different. That's about the same size. So go ahead, starting at 1, and then 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, and then introduce yourself. Go ahead. That's good. Okay. Yeah, let's save that. Okay. Wow, they got so enthusiastic. Yes? Vera? And in case you guys didn't get it, go ahead and introduce yourself, just because you guys should be applauded just for like coming here. Yeah. Because they probably just heard Mr. Hanson go, blah, 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 and they're like, which one's Morgan and which one's Megan? Because they're different. And Eve is in the middle. Oh, sorry, go ahead. She's Eve. Okay.
I'm Morgan. I'm Trey. I'm dictator.
No, you are not. Yeah, we did you guys missed out on that because right after the test we did like dictatorship and so forth. And you were the only one chosen as a dictator in here, right? Yeah. Okay. You did. What a terrible dictator. Yes. And you're Noah. Yay. In fact, this is interesting because in here compared to the students I taught last year, 5 different new students for me in here, which is really cool. Okay? So you guys go ahead and just kind of clear, and what I want you to do, write your name on both, okay? And then the first section, 1, 2, 3. Write your name on both, okay? And section 1, 2, 3 is a matching section, and you choose from these 4 choices. And then 4, 5, 6 is another matching section. You choose from these 4 choices. And then the last part is fill in the blank. Notice the last fill in the blank question. It gives you a choice of either legislative, executive, or judicial. Okay. You got it? Okay, shh. And then when you're done, save it, and I'll come and get it from you. Okay? All right. I'm Mr. Hanson. That's enough. Okay, all right. While these guys are working on it, so I'm just kind of overview, big thing and so forth. Raise your hand if you can tell me what is important going on in, say, the world of American politics today. Yes? Very good. The first of 3 debates for the presidency between Trump and Biden. First of 3, there will be 1 debate among the vice presidential candidates. Yes? I don't know. It's going to be televised, so it won't be too hard to find. It's somewhere. And 7 o'clock, 90 minutes. Michael, Donald Trump is the current president of the United States. He is the Republican nominee for the presidency. He's on the ballot. Shh. Okay, now don't be silly. All right, now, next. So the election is being held 5 weeks from today. First Tuesday in the month of November, first Tuesday after the first Monday in the month of November, every 4 years. Okay? Also, let's see, raise your hand. This one's a little trickier, but if you pay attention to the news, you would know, what is the name of the person who Donald Trump appointed for the vacancy that was held by Ruth Bader Ginsburg? You're going to be learning more about the court and so forth this year, so you're going to see like that's very, very important. Do you know? That is correct. She has similarity from Ruth Bader Ginsburg in her femaleness, but as far as her view of court issues, there's quite a bit different. He's
I looked it up, yeah.
Oh, well, that's easy. Go ahead, pronounce it correctly.
Amy Conant Barrett.
Amy Conan Barrett? No, it's Coney. It's okay, no worries. ACB as opposed to RGB. Keep an eye on that. That's going to be very important as we go through the year. You guys eventually, when you're tested on your judiciary unit, you're going to have to know the names of all 9 justices. Although maybe after the election, if the Democrats get control of the White House and maintain control of the House and get control of the Senate, they might expand the number of members of the court. So in which case, then your test, you would have to know 11 or more members of the Supreme Court. But don't worry about that yet. We'll follow it as we go along. Very interesting, important issues as we go along. Quickly, yes?
Yeah, to get voted in, or is it still in the process?
It's in the process. She's been nominated, and the news looks like they're going to have the vote in the United States Senate before the election. So they're going to move very quickly on that. And expectations are it's going to be a close vote. I don't think any of the 47 Democrats are going to be voting for her. But so far, it only looks like maybe 2 of the 53 Republicans might not vote for her. But that means 51 to 49. JT, who wins in a 51-49 vote? The 51, okay? By the way, I've actually, some of you guys have already seen, I got the test in, right? I'm just waiting on, I think, actually there's one person on the blue day that needs to, the green day that needs to take it, and then these 2. And there'll be an opportunity to pick up 2 additional points and so forth. Do you guys want extra credit opportunities? There will be extra credit opportunities, and it will require you to do a little bit of research, right? Using things like computers to like research. There's the basic question of, raise your hand who you think, if you think Biden is going to win the presidential election. Raise your hand if you think Trump is going to win the election. Raise your hand if you're like, I just don't know, but you know what? I'm going to find out one way or another. There we go, hands down. In fact, the election is 50 state elections plus District of Columbia. Raise your hand if you think Biden's going to win in Idaho and get Idaho's 4 electoral votes. I don't think so. Raise your hand if you think Biden's going to win in California and get California's, I want to say like 55, 56 electoral votes. Florida, raise your hand if you think Biden's going to win in Florida. Now that's a closer one. Those are like the real swing states. Your opportunity is to do the research and make the best predictions. And in fact, probably 30, 35 of the states, there's not much doubt as to who's going to win those. They're either very Trump or very Biden. The swing states are going to be where your research is going to be paying off. And if you're thinking, that's just really hard. Actually, most of the time, most of my students, when I did this 4 years ago, got most of them right. And one student got every single one of them right. An exchange student from the country of the Netherlands. Ooh, boom, he calls it. We'll see. It is kind of tricky. It is tricky because some of them it's like, whoa, didn't see that coming. So we'll give you an extra credit opportunity to check that out. But don't look at it right now. You need to have it in your notes section. Okay? All right. Let's get into are you ready for the next note packet? Of course you are. Yes. Convince me. Yes. You're like, oh, I'd rather be at home, but you guys get to be at home like all these days. I'll put this right over here. I'll put this right over here. Do you guys have any questions? Does it make sense? And write your name on here. And you can draw all over that if you want. Good. Okay, almost done?
Yeah.
Okay. You're done?
I'm almost
Okay.
Oh, I have a question.
Yes, what's your question?
Who are you voting for?
Good question. That is a very good question. I will tell you, in the future, after you graduate, I give you the answer. So when am I going to tell you who I voted for? After you graduate. Yeah, after you graduate. Okay?
You can't tell me that.
I can, but I'm not going to.
How about
How about you figure out who you think should get support, and then that's the most important thing. If you think Biden is the one who should receive your support, fine. If other people, actually, should I do that? How many of you guys want Biden to win? How many of you want Trump to win? How many of you guys are like, I just want with everybody in the entire world and planets and puppies and rainbows and Skittles and all that kind of stuff? All right. Okay. Most? No, I know. Oh, yeah. Almost. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. Huh? Oh, and that's just that one. Don't worry too much. Yeah, do the best. Best you can. Okay? Okay. It's okay. No. All right. Okay, by the way, and I don't know that I mentioned this, because I've been mentioning it all the various different classes. I think this you and then the next period. My doctor likes for me to breathe, and so my doctor wrote some information on a piece of paper, and I handed it in, and basically it says, Mr. Hansen, oh my gosh, he just he talks so much and he breathes so much in and out and so forth. Let him wear a shield while he's teaching. So that's why I'm wearing a shield. Yeah, because it's like, yeah, so, yeah. What? No, I mean, like, with everything becoming, like, concerned and so forth, I mean, they shut the elementary down. We're wearing the mask, and I was wearing the mask, and you saw me, and I was like, yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah. So while I'm sitting quietly at my desk having conversations with students about their research topics, I will have my mask on. You can take your mask off when you're shoving food in your gob, and then chew, 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 and you get some drink too, okay? It's okay. Everyone has a gob. Yes, it's called your mouth. Nom, 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 nom. Okay? So that's fine, okay? For me, that's right, of course. Okay, thank you so much. All right. Okay. Shh. Don't give me flashbacks to when I was teaching 9th grade with some of you guys. call on you if you want to be called upon by signifying by raising your hand. Thank you very much. Yes, all of a sudden, like this class increased by a fair amount, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we want everybody. Open up a new section in your notes. Ready? A new section in your notes. So you keep this all very well organized. Okay? And let me give you the overview for this unit. This is a bigger unit than the last one. I mean, the last one was just like this little mini unit, right? But you like bigger units, don't you, Ava? Sure. I want to be in school, I want to be here, and I want to learn. Right. Okay. So here we go. In this unit, which actually overlaps with some of the things and concepts that you would have learned last year at North Star in the 9th grade, notice animal farm. Okay? Yep. If you weren't here last year, don't worry about it. I will teach you what you need to know relative to animal farm. Those of you who were here last year and learned about animal farm, you're like, oh, that's the connection to what is going on historically, right? This is one of those books that I have that I asked and requested in English department did have students read because it has a nice tie-in. It's got a nice overlap to what we do in government. Okay? So if you look on here, you're going to see that we are going to be covering authoritarian government. Okay? And we've already talked about that somewhat. And now we're going to be talking about it in the specifics of a particular country, Russia, and I included neighbors because we're going to see that Russia isn't just Russia. It actually includes other groups of people that will be taken over by Russia, and some of them will become pretty much Russia, and the minority population will end up being very small. Others will break apart. Like just so, for example, I'll be making reference to some of the things that I put up on my wall, like massive things on my wall. If you look at these two posters right here, you can see, actually, raise your hand if you can tell me, who is that face in that, surrounded by that red flag thing? Nobody knows? Actually, if you don't know, that's fine. His name is Vladimir Lenin, and he is the founder of the Soviet Union. He's a communist. Okay? In the story of Animal Farm, he would be sort of represented by the character of Old Major. Okay? Now you look and you see various different flags. Those are the flags from the Soviet Union, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. One of those flags would be like the Russian Soviet Socialist Republic. Others of them, like for example, where is it, right here? There we go. This is the Soviet flag for the Estonian Soviet Socialist Republic. Estonia was taken over. You'll get that in your notes later on. Little teeny tiny Estonia. You could barely even see it on this map of the world today. Some of you guys can sort of see Finland, the purple country right up here. If you go just south across the Baltic Sea, there's Estonia. Estonia was independent until they were taken over by the Soviet Union. And they were like, you will be part of Soviet Union. Here's your Soviet flag. And the Estonian people are like, I don't want that. I want my old flag. The blue, the black, and the white of independent Estonia. Guess what flag is flying in there today? Red. The blue, the black, and the white of independent Estonia. So part of our story that we will tell about authoritarian government is how sometimes authoritarian governments will take over neighboring countries. It's an interesting thing. We don't know anything about that in the United States of America. We started out as 13 original colonies and became states on the eastern coast, and that was it. Never conquered nobody, nothing, no how. Let all those people to the west of us just live peacefully the way they... Never mind. Okay. So, but yeah, we're the United States of America, and we're all here together in one big country. An interesting comparison. How many parts of the United States of America have ever become not the United States of America? Now that's an interesting question. None of the states. The South tried it. Last year, we remember covering that. The southern states were like, we're out of here. We want to keep the way things are going on, and we don't like President Lincoln. And that didn't work out for the southern states. They lost the Civil War, and they had to remain in the Union. I don't know, the one that comes up, like in the 11th grade, we're talking about how Hawaii got included into the United States. And some of the Hawaiians are like, we don't really want to be here. So if there ever was a movement for among Hawaiians to like leave the United States. I don't know how many of you guys would be like, nope, Hawaii, you got to stay. How many guys would be like, Hawaii, if you want to go, you can go. Interesting. Oh, wow. Interesting. I don't know what's going to happen in your lifetime. We'll see. We'll play that out. But in this unit, we are going to cover, write this down, Russian history. And we're going to see how in Russian history trends were continually in favor of we need a strong authoritarian leader. So most of the time in Russian history, it's going to be like, I don't know, what is the autocratic form of government that's sort of traditional? Yes? That's the new version. What's the old school one? Absolute monarchy, exactly. So in Russia, we will see lots of czars. That's like a basically Russian word for like emperor or Caesar. Okay? And then in the modern times, we're going to run into totalitarian dictators like the ones in the Soviet Union. And then today, peace and democracy and freedom and all that. No? No? Who is the leader of Russia today?
Putin.
He was elected?
No.
He's so scary. Are you afraid of Putin? He's got a doggy face. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to be learning about Putin and how even after so many years of history and so forth, it's no big surprise that Russia still has an authoritarian form of government today. It's a little bit better, but it still does revert to form. So we'll be analyzing that. Yes?
I know for all these elections, they're basically trying to say this one is me.
Don't hit my posters! You just pointed at it. Oh my gosh, don't let that guy into a museum. He's going to like damage all the art. He'll like, gee. I did that once in a museum. I like pointed at an umbrella, like because I was trying to like point like we were doing. And oh my gosh, the person in the museum was like going to like tackle me or so forth. Because they're like, oh, you don't know what's going to happen to you. Your like umbrella's going to pop out and destroy some priceless like, yeah. But yeah, no, the hammer and the sickle. Do you know what that represents? Yeah, it's communism. Yeah. Exactly. It's not that different. Yeah, they're basically saying, yeah, you're all part of our group. Don't forget that you're part of our group. Every single one of those countries today is no longer part of Russia. They are all separate countries. All of them. Okay, we'll get into all those details and so forth. It's a good question. Yes?
So did all of those like flags up there? Did they just like take the flags and put this?
That's kind of what they did. Yeah, so if you look at like the Estonian one, the original one had blue, black, and white, and so they put in like the blue and the white, and they made waves because it's like on the Baltic Sea, so there's a lot of water component. But yeah, red is the most dominant color, communism, and the hammer and sickle. The hammer for the worker, the sickle for the farmer, and then the red star. And it's weird because like when I was your age, red clearly meant like left, communism. Although today, if you look at, let's say, if somebody were to have like a bumper sticker on their car that said something like, blue girl, red state, Idaho, what's going on there? Blue has been associated in modern times with the Democratic Party, and red with the Republican Party. And I think it mostly has to do with like election night when the news broadcasters are showing their electoral maps, and you can do this. They all seem to eventually start to have red as the color for the Republican Party. I don't think the Republicans like latched onto that, but that's just sort of how it worked out. So when somebody says, Idaho, is it a red state or a blue state? Right now it's a red state in the sense that it's definitely like favorable to the Republican Party. I don't think there's been a Democrat elected to like Congress or a state position, I want to say for like maybe 10 years in Idaho. But it's weird because when I was your age, to say that something is red would mean to say that it was like socialist or communist or something like that. So it's really changed quite a bit. Yeah?
What would happen if your state just doesn't want to vote?
If your state doesn't want to vote?
Like, with it, like,
No. A state doesn't have one mindset. It's not like hive mentality, we are Borg. There's no Borg in the United States of America. Okay? If one person or several people are actually like, how about this? Maybe 50% of eligible voters don't vote. Well, guess who gets to decide the election? The ones who do get a vote. The ones that do actually vote. Right? So if you get to be a certain age when you're 18 and you're like, I don't want to vote, it doesn't make any difference, all you're doing is letting the people who do vote have much more influence. Okay? You guys ready? So in this unit, there's going to be some videos, and I had to check this. Are you guys okay? Okay. In this unit, there's some videos, there's two documentaries, 1917 Red Flag and 1989 People Power. And under normal circumstances, I show them in class. It's good because I was able to find them on YouTube, so those will probably be assigned for you to view at home. And I do have question sheets that go along with that, and those are going to be things that will be on the test. So you'll definitely want to make sure that you have those done correctly. I did actually find the Animal Farm version that I would show in class. I found that yesterday on YouTube, no cost, so I'm going to put a link to that. And then, you're going to get it. This is the unit. This is the unit. At the end of the unit, this is where I tell the very personal story about how I ended communism in the Soviet Union and stopped the Cold War. And you're like, really? How is that possible? It's my story. Some of you guys know it because I told it in very short form. Right? I gave guitar strings to a friend who played in front of hundreds of thousands of Estonians waving the blue, black, and white when they were trying to get their independence from the Soviet Union. It's part of the Singing Revolution. And I don't think, you see that one, Singing Revolution? That's the fourth of the videos.
What?
In the thing where it says watch, and it's got 4 different videos right up near the top. Near the top. Okay? There you go. Yeah, you're pointing at it right there. So Singing Revolution? Yeah, that one. That's not available on YouTube. I'm going to have to decide whether or not, and probably will because it's just like really, really cool, even though it's a little bit long. That's the story of how Estonians sang their way to independence. And I may show that one in class if I can't figure out a way to get it for you to watch otherwise. Okay? This is a good unit. It's a powerful unit. And yes, I will even show some pictures from my trips. When I got those posters, that was in 1985. I mean, your parents, I don't know, how old were your parents in 1985? 7. Wow, that's good. No, that's good math. In 1985, I was just finishing college. And I went on a tour to the, what was the Soviet Union. And I picked up some posters, I made some friends, and I will share. Okay. Just out of college. I would have been 22, almost 22, okay? Before I went to law school and then went into the law and then went into teaching and yada, yada, and now I'm here old. What? Shh. So, in 1985, yeah, included in my PowerPoints and so forth, I will show you some pictures of what Mr. Hanson looked like when he was 1985. I had hair color. Yeah, I didn't look like our friend, the gentleman from Palestine who has white hair and so forth. But I'm not. But I do look a little bit like him. But anyway, that'll be part of the story. So you guys ready? You guys ready? All right, let's do this. Okay, write this down. Okay? First bullet point. Most of these ones, as we go through here, is going to be the first part of it, and then we'll go to the videos, but we're not going to get to the videos, obviously, today, because we've got a lot of story to tell. Here is the main gist of the story. It's the first bullet point. Write it down in your notes. Russia. Russia, sadly, was destined to have an authoritarian government through most of its history. Is it because of the Russian personality? No. We got over that in the last unit. It's not because Russians or Chinese or more like, yay, we need to have authoritarian government. No. The geography has made it difficult for Russia over history. Okay? Take a look here at the map of Russia. Okay? That's the current map of Russia. And as we tell the story, you're going to see at times some of the neighbors are going to be included in Russia, like Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan, the Central Asian republics. are going to be included in Russian control at different times in history? In fact, raise your hand if you can tell me this. We covered it last year in 9th grade. What part of North America was once under control of Russia? Yes? Very good. And sold to the United States. Okay? So you literally, like, you could be on an island that is part of the United States and look over to another island that is part of Russia, and you can see Russia from one island to the other. Not from your house, but from one island to another. Okay? Well, you could, but you'd have to have a house on that island looking over to the other island. But it's very cold. It's in the Bering Straits. So geography has made it hard. Let's see what you guys remember. Raise your hand if you can tell me. Why has geography made it hard for the Russian government to be legitimate? Remember the 4 different, particularly the first 3, right? Because remember, with freedom, you need things to be stable and peaceful for freedom to take root. Why has it been so hard for Russia? Go ahead. Why is it hard for them to maintain national security? Finish the thought. Because of the geography. Go ahead. They're surrounded by a whole bunch of other different countries. That's part of it. Finish out the thing. What about the geographical features that make it easier for those areas to invade? There's no mountains. Okay, so that's good. So reverse of mountains is it's pretty flat. Okay, so write that down. It tends to be very flat. So the invasion route for outside countries is often going straight into Russia, and Russia is fairly flat. So put this down. We're going to see this, and I'll give you details of Russian history of different European countries that invade. So write that down. European countries from the West over Russia's history invading from the West. And as Anna has pointed out, are there big mountains to help protect them? No. Probably the one big invasion from the East is going to be the Mongols. That's not going to come so much, but most of the national security threats are going to come from the West, lack of mountains. And, yeah, go ahead. The Mongols. Yeah. Well, and here's another thing. Listen up carefully. When people think of Russia, and most of the Russian people, write this down because this is actually important. Most of the Russian people, even still today, live in Western Russia. That's the original Russia. It's kind of like, where did most of the people in the United States live in the very beginning of our country? East or West? Yeah, East, by definition. Have we spread out? Yeah, I mean, you look at the West Coast and it's like, yeah, it's pretty concentrated. There's a lot of people on the West Coast. Okay? So as Russia moved from west to east, albeit in some of those areas, especially when you get to the high northern areas like Siberia, there's not as many people living there. But nevertheless, they moved from west to east. Which direction did our country grow, expand? East to west, exactly. Okay, so there's some interesting analogies when you look at U.S. history and Russian history. Although, on our east coast, what do we have providing national security as a geographic barrier on our east coast? We got a big ocean there. What do the Russians have on their western side? Absolutely nothing. They're exposed. And that's going to make it a little bit trickier for them. Okay? So that's part of my thesis in this unit. And it says it right there. National security is going to have a big, big problem to help for the Russian government to maintain security. Because it's like, yay, we're big and we're powerful in Russia. Bam! You just get defeated by some outside country. Exactly. Thank you very much. Yeah. JT, you're a little slow on that this time. Bam! Okay? And so therefore, it says right there, lack of development of tradition of political freedom. I mean, you're going to have to look real hard in Russian history to find an extended period of time where everything's so stable, the Russian people are like, hey, let's have some freedom now. I'm feeling like national security, domestic security, economic satisfaction is good. Let's have some freedom. Let's develop some freedom. Let's have some democracy. Let's have some free speech. Is there going to be an extended period of time in Russia that's going to have that? Write it down. Nope. Nope. The closest we actually ever get to that, I would say, in modern times, is in the 1990s after the Soviet Union falls. And for a brief period of time, they're going to be like democracy and freedom and so forth. But stuff's going to happen. It's like it always does. Stuff happens, and the Russian people are like, stuff is happening. The government's not legitimate. And then somebody will come in and go, somebody like Michael will come in and go, I have a solution. And then a whole bunch of people will go, you're our savior. You're our dictator. You're our autocrat. If he wants to be president for life, go for it. Right? What is Vladimir Putin? President. How long is his term now? They changed it. It's pretty much like forever, I think. I actually think they changed the Constitution. It used to be like, something like we have, 4-year term and then a 4-year term or something like that. But then he's like, I think they really want me. Let's go ahead and change the Constitution. And they did. And has there been a huge upswelling of revolution in Russia? No, although it's a little bit difficult because some of the guys who are actually saying, don't do that, Putin, they end up poisoned. I mean, literally, that happened within the last couple of weeks. That's actually not that funny. I mean, sometimes Mr. Hansen, you're making a good point, but it's kind of sad. So if you actually take a chance to try and get a little bit more freedom and so forth in your country, sometimes in some countries you end up dead, which is not very much fun. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily work out quite as simply as that. Yeah. Oh. We'll just kind of. Oh, we got a spare. Anna's got a spare. Do you have a spare? You can try and staple it. I guess I've got cheap masks like this too. You can try it. Anyway. Yes. Okay, it's not that exciting. Go ahead. Yes. Okay, shh. Shh. More free today? Russia. Oh, yeah, Russia's more free today. Yeah, in Russia, if you want the freedom to set up a business, you've got much more freedom to set up a business. They've got a fair amount of capitalism in Russia. It's, you have to pay people off, which is a problem. But in North Korea, you can't do that at all. You gonna be okay? All right, let's get to it. Okay. Oh my gosh, depending on which time. We'll ask that question of you. But I would say, take a look, and when we get to the history of the Soviet Union, there's going to be times. Near the end of the Soviet Union, wasn't too bad. Their leader, actually, Mikhail Gorbachev, he was not too bad. The time of Joseph Stalin, and in the book Animal Farm, the character who is like the Joseph Stalin character is Napoleon. He was brutally repressive. He would have been on par with a North Korean dictator as far as the repression of the people. Okay? So, depends on what time, which Soviet leader you're talking about. All right. Once upon a time, in Russia, there was the first Russia. It is Kiev. In fact, let me point this out right here. Let me see if I got that on this map. Yeah, here we go. It starts in Kiev. Write this down. We're going to go through this history. Okay? The very first Russia starts in and around a city called Kiev. Okay? In and around a city of Kiev. This would be about, just over 1,000 years ago. Yeah. Okay? No, it's not. Russia was write this down. One of the issues we're going to be looking at Russia is, are they keeping up economically with their neighbors? And sometimes we'll go, yeah, they're doing pretty well. Other times we'll go, man, they're falling behind. And is it okay? Is it safe to be behind your neighbors technologically? No, because technologically, in war, they can take their technological superiority and make better weapons and bring them against you and beat you. Yes. Shh. Go, quick. Some of you guys know. If you look back to the early days of the people settling in that area, some of them are Slavic people, and some of them are like Viking people called the Rus. So you know that. That's good. So you've got all kinds of various different people settling in and so forth. The first time you get this sort of congealment of a country and a government, is Kiev. Now, just stop there for a moment, because if you were to go to the city of Kiev today, is it in Russia? No, it's actually in Ukraine. So it's a little confusing because sometimes people look and they're like, well, Kiev is part of Russia. Well, Kiev today is part of Ukraine. That's one of those tension issues. If you ask people in Ukraine, do you want to be part of Russia? Some of them may be like, yes. Most of them, especially around Kiev and to the western part, will say, no, we want a separate country. And they do have a separate country. But in the early days, that was the very first Russia that we saw exist, and then we'll see what happens to it. Yes?
I know you're fictional, but I kind of disagree with if, like, you're behind an economic, because if you have, like, what's the best term? Like when you're teamed with another country, alliance?
Yeah.
When you have an alliance, you can just ask for their weapons.
You can just ask for their weapons. So here you are.
Ask them to fight.
Okay, you play the role of the poor country. Okay? Here's your ally that's got good weapons. I am the enemy, and I've got really good weapons, pretty much on par with this country. All right? I'm going to attack you. And you ask him for help. What's your answer?
I'm not going to give him guns.
Oh, that didn't sound like a really solid vote of support. Write this down. Your best solution, if you really want to have security for your own country, is to provide for your own security. Now, it is good, and I stressed this in the last one, it is good to have alliances, right? Although, if you ask President Trump today, he will point out, we have alliances with European countries, and they're all modern, and they can build weapons, and they can make money, they can all contribute to the alliance. One of the things that he's gotten some attention from is because he said some of those European countries aren't paying as much as they should. Everyone said they were going to spend 2% of their gross domestic product. Have you learned about that in econ yet? Yeah. Right, so that's the overall amount of the economy. And some of those countries aren't spending that much. And so Trump's sort of like, you guys are a bunch of hangers on. You're not pulling your own weight. You're not really contributing to the strength of it. He's even gone so far as sometimes as to say, we might just pull out. And other people are like, shh, don't say that. It's like, don't make the alliance fall apart. But you can see where he's coming from. Your ally wants to know, what are you contributing to that alliance so that they're willing to commit to you just as you're willing to commit to them. You can depend on the strength and resources and love of your parents at this stage in your life. How long is that going to last? At one point in time, your parents are going to be like, nudge, 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 or kick. Settle down. To get you to be, a little bit more independent. And they'll be more of a partner when you get to the age of you're financially independent. You can have meals over at their house. They can have meals over at your house. Sometimes you pick up the check. Sometimes they pick up the check. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to see more about early Kiev, and we're going to see what happens when the Mongols invade and conquer early Kiev. Tears all over the place. Will they ever make a comeback after that? Yes, they will. Yes, they will. No, the Mongols rise, the Mongols fall. You guys learned that actually last year. Oh, no, it was more than that. But, in some places 100, in other places 200, but not more than that.